Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
I get like when I turn around, it does give me mic off.
Okay. Hey, how are you? days good, some days. Yeah, a little bit more.
You're busy, man. You're busy.
Oh, whatever, I'm going crazy. All right. So you. How are you? So they're gonna televise that from back there?
Yes. The 24.
Look at that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, look. Nice to see.
There you go. Love it.
So you can use that one, but if you're gonna use that one, if you do turn that one on, turn that one off. You'll get some serious interference.
Okay.
So if you're gonna use portable probably?
Okay, welcome. I'm very thankful that you're all here. We have an exciting presentation for you today. We began our journey about 6 months ago when I started doing my town hall meetings throughout Pembroke Pines. We did 13 different town hall meetings. Some of them were held in the eastern part of the city, some in the central part of the city, some west. We visited the condos, we visited homeowner associations, we visited community associations. And it was a great experience. We listened to what people had to say. And it all kicked off with this chart. This chart is what started the discussion. This was the chart that was produced by a survey of Pembroke Pines residents, what their top 10 issues were. And so I want to pick up where I left off by reviewing this chart. But first, I want to acknowledge my colleagues who are here. I see Vice Mayor Good, who is here. I want to thank you for being with us. I see Commissioner Hernandez here as well, and I want to thank him for being with us as well. So, when we began our discussion, we asked residents, what are your top 10 issues here in Pembroke Pines that you would like to see City Hall address? And usually in a survey this size, a city of about, I don't know, 170 some odd thousand people, you hope to get 500 responses. 500 responses would be at the level that you could say you have a statistically significant sample that you can draw on. We got close to 2,200 responses. And what that means is that this chart is a pretty good representation, pretty reliable representation of what's on people's minds. Far and away, the number one issue that was on the minds of residents was traffic. And second was high taxes. We wouldn't be good Floridians if we didn't say that high taxes was an issue, right? Affordable housing was the third highest ranked issue, not just for senior citizens, but also for young people who are in our community, young adults who are beginning the process of adulthood and, you know, starting their own families. Recycling and trash services was a significant issue, and the fight against incineration, which is something that Pembroke Pines has done for the last 30 years. And we're still very much opposed to any form of incineration, preferring instead to see a robust recycling effort and a trash disposal program that is both responsible in terms of dealing with the very real issue of disposing of trash, but also responsible from the perspective of the environment and making sure that we do that in the proper way. Flooding became an issue in our city. Not everywhere in our city, but in pockets in our city, flooding is a major concern, and residents wanted that dealt with because they realized we're getting more rain. And with that becomes a significant challenge. Public safety. Our men and women in uniform, both police and fire. Residents want to feel more safe. They want to make sure that our city remains safe, and that was a concern. Education is always in the top 10 in Pembroke Pines. We are big believers in our schools. We are big believers in continuing education for adults, and that was a concern that they wanted us to have. Public corruption, and making sure that their officials, from the top all the way down, are people whose word they can rely on, whose morals and ethics are beyond reproach, worthy of the leadership responsibilities that they have, and protecting by being good stewards of the public trust. And last was parks on the top 10 list. We are big believers in parks here in Pembroke Pines. We want to make sure that our parks continue to provide us with enjoyment opportunities, but also with the physical beauty that parks provide in the open space that our residents want. They don't want every inch of Pembroke Pines paved over. They want to make sure that there are open spaces in the city that they can enjoy. Those were the top 10 issues. And we talked about these at length when I was doing my town hall meetings 6 months ago. You also added throughout the city many concerns and complaints and suggestions, comments, which our city clerk, you can't see, oh, there she is taking notes of, constantly taking notes of. And we took all of that information and we gave it to our outstanding staff. And they produced this draft strategic plan, which we're going to roll out to you today. We're very interested in your comments and your thoughts on that plan so that we could improve it. And they did an amazing job, in my opinion, of capturing what you told them was the most important to you. In the audience here today and available to answer questions is our city manager, Charlie Dodge, who is here, our city attorney, Sam Gorin, who is here. Jay Schechter, who's our director of community services, is here. Police Chief Jose Vargas is here. Assistant City Manager Jonathan Bonilla is here. Our Fire Chief Marcelino Rodriguez is here. Mary Ann Wollert, who's in charge of our communication strategy, is here. Christina Sorensen, who's an Assistant City Manager, is here. I see Marty Gajewski, Deputy City Manager, he's here. Mike Bailey, who's the head of our utilities operation, is here. Steve Buckland, who's in charge of Public Works, is here. Assistant City Manager Mike Stamm is here. He handles the economic and development and planning area. Mark Gomes is also here. He's in charge of the purchasing department. Carl Kennedy is here. He's our city engineer. Did I miss anyone? Oh, Lisa Chong is here. Our assistant city manager and finance director is here. And also Matt Kefford, who heads up our IT office, is here. And I'm very, very thankful to all of them for their presence. Sam, I introduced you, right? Sam Gorin, who is here, he's our city attorney, and he's here to keep me out of trouble and to keep us all moving in the right direction. So putting together this strategic plan is so very important, and this is why I'm so excited for Pembroke Pines right now. The plan allows us to avoid some of the trouble that we've seen in many of the communities in South Florida. And if you look around the communities, just in the Tri-County area, just in our area here, the Tri-County area, for those of you who've lived in South Florida for a while, you see my colleague, Commissioner Maria Rodriguez is here. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us. The thing that you feel in certain communities is, wow, I remember when this place was so much different. You know, have you ever driven around and sort of felt that way? I remember when this community was this, and this community was that, and it was amazing. And wow, look at what's happened here. And the disappointment comes not because of who lives there. The disappointment comes because there's only two kinds of communities. The communities that plan to succeed and the communities that don't plan to succeed. And when you don't plan to succeed, you should plan to fail. We in Pembroke Pines love this city. We care about the standards in this city. We care about the quality of life in this city. We care about our neighbors. We care about every community. And whether you live in the eastern part of the city or the central part of the city or the western part of the city, this is one city which operates together. You all pay taxes. You all have needs. Some of the needs are different from one end of the city to the other, and each of them is important. It can't be, for example, that the eastern part of the city says, I need X, Y, and Z, and the western part of the city says, I don't care much about that. It doesn't affect me. I don't have those issues. No, you have to care. When the western part of the city says, I have roads that have to be completed because we just have too much traffic because of the schools, the eastern part of the city can't say, that really doesn't affect me, so I really don't care. No. We succeed by being one city, and that's why you need to have one plan that unifies the entire city. We all chip in to figure it out, and we all get it done. But these 10 issues were citywide issues. They don't apply to one part of the city or any other. These were the 10 citywide issues. And that became the foundation that we built on. When you build a house, you can have the best built walls in the world. But if the foundation is not steady, those walls will crumble. So we started the strategic planning process by focusing on what was most important to all of you. And this is something, it sounds simple, but this is historic in our city. It's the first time we ever started a strategic planning process based exclusively on and inspired by what the residents of this city wanted. And so, what we did, and it took us time to do it, was to put together this draft strategic plan that I'm about to show you now. Now, this plan was adopted unanimously by the Pembroke Pines City Commission. And why did they adopt it in a draft form unanimously? Very simply, so that I could present it to all of you. This is the third town hall meeting I've done today. So if I'm a little hoarse, it's because I've done this 3 times. This is my third go at it today. But there'll be many, many more meetings like this and opportunities for people to speak up. There's also going to be an opportunity for you to provide additional input and comments. So the purpose of today's meeting is simply to present you with the plan, give you an introduction to it, give you the information that's also online, and to give you an opportunity to comment on it and make it better. You might see something in the plan that you think, you know what, that really needs to come out. Or you might see something that's missing in the plan. Or you might have thought of something since the town hall meetings that you'd like to add. This is a great opportunity for you to do that. And we're going to go through this process citywide and make sure that everyone gets to see it. And so to kick off our discussion, we have a video which we've presented to you. We'd like to begin looking at this, then I'll go into the plan some more, and then it will be your opportunity to speak. So please listen to the video.
Hello. Thank you for joining us at this public forum to discuss our draft strategic plan, We Love Pembroke Pines, a blueprint for a brighter future. City administration and the City Commission have been developing this plan for some time, and we're excited to share it with you and hear your thoughts. As we start, I'd like you to imagine what you'd like our city to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. What does a brighter future for Pembroke Pines mean to you? Keep that vision in mind as we go through the plan, and afterward, we want to hear from you, whether our vision aligns with yours, or if there are other ideas we should consider. The foundation of our blueprint began with community engagement, hearing from residents, businesses, and city employees through workshops, town halls, and surveys. This feedback helped create master plans in key areas. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan focuses on accessibility, park upgrades, programming, and environmental stewardship. The Public Art Master Plan integrates community-inspired art into public spaces. The Transportation Master Plan addresses traffic, transit, and pedestrian safety. The Economic Development Plan supports infrastructure, business growth, and workforce development. These plans, together with input received from Mayor Castillo's town hall tour, shaped our guiding principles: a vision of an inclusive, sustainable community with high quality of life and active resident engagement, and a mission to deliver quality services that support residents' well-being, economic growth, and sustainable development through transparent governance and community engagement. From this input, we established 7 strategic focus areas, which serve as the pillars of our blueprint for a brighter future, each with specific goals and strategies. Our first focus area is economic development. We aim to expand workforce housing options for our young people and seniors, keeping them in our community for the future. Additionally, we're committed to revitalizing underutilized properties and diversifying our local economy. By focusing on these areas, we aim to ensure accessible housing for residents, make the best use of our land, and build a more resilient economic foundation. In public safety, we are committed to enhancing the efficiency and capacity of our police, fire, and emergency management departments, while fostering community policing. Our goal is to provide our first responders with the resources needed to protect our community and to build stronger relationships between law enforcement and residents. For environmental sustainability, we are focusing on sustainable practices, improved waste management, and fighting incineration. Our vision is to implement eco-friendly initiatives and enhanced waste systems that reduces environmental impact, actively oppose harmful disposal methods, and promote a healthier, greener Pembroke Pines for future generations. In workforce development, we strive to recruit and retain a qualified, engaged workforce by offering ongoing training and development opportunities. This will help ensure that our team is well equipped to deliver high-quality services to our community. Through communications and marketing, We aim to develop a comprehensive communication plan and promote a unified city brand. We are working to strengthen connections with residents by improving outreach, transparency, and building an identity that truly reflects our community's unique character. Public infrastructure improvements are another key goal. We are focused on enhancing traffic flow, upgrading roadways, improving drainage, securing a safe water supply, and ensuring adequate street lighting to create a well-functioning, accessible city for all residents. Finally, public spaces and quality of life are central to our vision. We are committed to enhancing parks, beautifying our city with lush landscaping and street art, improving streetscapes, and organizing community events. These efforts will create a vibrant, welcoming environment where residents can connect, relax, and celebrate the unique culture of Pembroke Pines. In addition to these focus areas, our strategic plan incorporates advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels to secure support for the goals our residents have prioritized. Through dedicated advocacy efforts, we aim to bring more resources to our city and strengthen our ability to achieve the community-driven vision within this plan. Many of these goals are achievable through capital improvement projects. The draft strategic plan currently outlines $315 million in projects, with the complete list available on our website at ppines.com/blueprint. We structured our projects list into 5 main categories. Here are a few highlights. Public safety facilities is the first category, with a priority project to build a new police headquarters. Our community has outgrown our current facility, which, at over 40 years old, lacks the state-of-the-art technological advancements necessary to provide the highest level of service to our residents. A new headquarters will equip our police department with the modern resources and space it needs to better serve our community. Community facilities is the next category and includes projects to restructure the City Center Plaza for enhanced support for festivals and outdoor events, complementing our City Center venue. It also funds public art, which brings cultural, social, and economic value, reflecting our community's unique identity and evolving culture. Recreation facilities make up the third category, with improvements planned for every park citywide. These upgrades will include an expansion of pickleball courts throughout the city to meet growing demand. Other enhancements include new artificial turf soccer fields at West Pines Soccer Park, Chapel Trails Soccer Park, Flamingo Baseball Park, and Pasadena Football Park, splash pads at Maxwell Park, Memorial Park, and Silver Lakes South Park, full renovations of Rose Price Park and Cinnamon Place Park, new walking paths, and exciting new playgrounds. The fourth category, purchase and development of future spaces, dedicates funds to acquiring land for future parks, economic development, and workforce housing. Finally, roadway and infrastructure improvement projects were carefully chosen based on their ability to reduce traffic congestion and improve traffic flow. These projects feature road widening on 196th Avenue and 208th Avenue, drainage enhancements in Pembroke Lakes and other areas, resurfacing of all city roads, and new pedestrian paths, including a path along Palm Avenue from Pembroke Road to Sheridan Street. Nearly 8 miles of multimodal paths are also planned throughout the city, along with streetscape upgrades, bike lanes, and traffic calming measures such as roundabouts, road diets, raised crosswalks, and other road safety improvements. That's a quick overview of our draft strategic plan. Think back to the question I posed at the start about the future of Pembroke Pines. Did we capture your vision, or are there areas where we could improve? We'd love to hear your feedback on how we did. Both the draft strategic plan and project list are available on our website at ppines.com/blueprint. We encourage you to provide feedback either here today or via the feedback form on our website, by email at blueprint@ppines.com, or by calling us at 954-450-1020. The next challenge is determining how to fund the draft strategic plan. Currently, $50 million has been set aside for these projects, but additional funding will be necessary to complete all proposed initiatives. To address this, the City Commission is considering placing a ballot question for the March 2025 election. This question would allow voters to decide whether to approve a general obligation bond, which would fund the remaining projects outlined in the Blueprint for a Brighter Future. In preparation, the city will provide informational resources to help residents understand what the bond would entail. This includes details on the specific projects that would be funded, the potential financial impact on taxpayers, and how the bond would affect the city's budget. We encourage all residents to stay informed, attend public meetings, and review the materials provided to make an informed decision. This draft strategic plan reflects our community's vision and sets a clear direction for Pembroke Pines' future. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and working together to bring this vision to life. We will be here to answer every one of your questions. Thank you for your time and commitment to building a brighter future for our city.
Okay. So that's the draft in a nutshell for We Love Pembroke Pines and the strategic plan. Now I'm going to ask Christina Sorensen if she could come up and talk to you a little bit about the material, the handout that we left, and the importance of the handout that we left on your chair.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. There was a handout that was at the sign-in sheet. If you did not get one, just raise your hand and my staff will make sure you come get one, come bring you one. Okay. Jonathan, I have a few more up here as well. Okay. Yep. On this handout, when you get it, there are a few things. There's a brief overview of the information that, Jonathan, that we just went over in the, thank you, in the video. On the front is a black QR code. That QR code is a link to the website where we have uploaded all the information on the strategic plan. I did not print a copy of the plan for you and give it to you today because this is our strategic plan. I can't print copies for everyone. It is a big document with a lot of information, and it's all on the website for you to review. So we encourage you to go to the website, take a look at all this information, and review it. On the back of this sheet is a green QR code. This is where our survey is located. Please look at the information and then fill out the survey. This document only gets better with your input. As the mayor said, we encourage you to give us your feedback. Let us know what you think, and we can only make improvements from there. And I will be here this afternoon to help anybody with the QR codes or answer any questions you have about the information. Thank you.
So we ascribed a great deal of seriousness to this survey. We ascribed a great deal of seriousness to it. And we spent many, many, many staff hours coming up with this draft to begin executing that vision. Now what we have to do is we have to, now that we have a draft, we're very interested in hearing from you what your thoughts are about it. Let me give you some additional detail so that you have that information. Okay. So, oh, got it. Okay. So this is the summary of the projects list. The public safety facility is a new police station replacing the one that currently exists on Pines Boulevard near Douglas Road. That police station was built 40 some odd years ago. It was built at a time when the Pembroke Pines Police Department was about a third of the size that it is now. It is overcrowded. It is technologically obsolete. It no longer provides the kind of amenities that the police department needs in order to do its job. There's no space there to provide a real-time crime center, an operation that will allow people to, at the police department, to watch and to organize major initiatives. By providing the police department with this amenity, you will easily give them the tool that they need in order to keep us safer. The fire department will also be accommodated in new headquarters, but the fire station that's located at that location will remain. That construction will happen around occupancy there. The main challenge structurally there is that it doesn't have enough parking for all of the police cars and the vehicles and the assets that police use that need to be stored. Structured parking will be provided there so that we have the capacity that we need in order to run the police department that we have now. The new community facilities is an important addition. It allows us not to have a center here that is much more amenable to the kinds of public events that we want to have, events that celebrate not just the holidays, but that also celebrate our diversity and our heritage as a community. This is an amenity that will allow us to have the ability to bring more people into this center more comfortably, with less interference from the heat and the rain than we've had before. It will enhance our ability to celebrate as a community and to gather around those important events. The recreational facility improvements are necessary. We get so much play on our kids' fields, the sports fields right now. With the amount of rain that we're getting, there's just too many rainouts, too many muddy areas for our kids to play in. These new artificial turf fields are environmentally safe. They're also safer than turf fields are for athletes to play. And they will save us a lot of money on maintenance. They just don't require all the maintenance that we spend, many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on maintenance. Once you put these facilities in, they sort of almost take care of themselves. So that's something that is very important. The purchase of future space is important in terms of not just in terms of the expansion of our Parks Department and our open spaces, which I mentioned before, but also in allowing us to work with the private sector to rebuild so many of the now obsolete shopping centers that are in our city, to promote economic development, to promote affordable housing and workforce housing in our city, and that's essentially important. The roadway and the infrastructure improvements program, the only way to build your way out of traffic is to widen roads, to complete the road projects that we have. And these projects that are in this plan that you will see online when you go through them were carefully selected from the much longer list of projects that the traffic engineers that put together the City of Pembroke Pines traffic master plan recommended. They recommended some $350 million worth of traffic and road improvements. We simply cannot afford that many. So staff went to work and picked those projects, the ones that they feel most impact the ability to reduce volume on our roads so that we can get to where we need to go. Some of that money is coming in from federal, state, and local road dollars, and that's help. The City of Pembroke Pines, through a contribution from our own savings and reserves, which is your money, is putting in close to $60 million, and the rest of it has to be funded. Now, before we continue, I just want to make something very, very, very clear. I'm not here to sell you anything. This started with a list of priorities that came from the people, and we ascribed seriousness and respect to what you said you wanted in our city. And this is a draft plan for how to move forward. And so what we want to do now is we want to hear from you, because we have to do this together. This isn't some city hall thing that, we're throwing out at you. This is us together as a family in Pembroke Pines working toward a common goal. We took your word seriously. and we put together this plan. And now what we have to do is we have to perfect it. It goes from a draft to a final, and from a final to implementation stages. So before we proceed any further, we want to hear from you on what your ideas are. Did we capture the essence of what you were looking for in a better Pembroke Pines? Did we miss anything that we should add? Are there other suggestions that we should put in there? Is there anything that you saw that you have second thoughts about? And the staff are here to answer questions, and I'll answer some, and then we'll go from there. All right? So we're going to open this thing up. You want to use all the mics? And staff is going to have the mics. And you just raise your hand and speak up. And we're going to start right over here. And I want to thank you all for coming and participating in this. It's a very, very exciting time for the city of Pembroke Pines, where we're going to plan a course toward a much better and brighter future. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming.
As a concerned neighbor of one of yours, I just want to know, how come you allowed Somerset Academy to come through the soccer park to block all the people in the acre homes from leaving every morning? We have parents out there that have several children from several different schools to get to, and instead of improving it, I saw it firsthand this morning, it's become increasingly worse.
Yeah.
How come they didn't open up Pines Boulevard like you have on Franklin that works phenomenally well?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, your use of pronouns. You.
You.
The law in the state of Florida allows a school to locate anywhere it wants, whether the city wants it or not. They chose that location. We didn't think it was a good idea, and we told them that at the time, but that's the location they chose. And so they put their school there, even though the surrounding community, which I know very well, it's right down the block from where I live, in Chapel Trail, was never designed to have a school, much less a school and then a high school right down the block. That also was not our idea. The school board of Broward County built West Broward High School there. When they asked the city manager where it belonged, he told them it belonged on 172nd in Pines. But they chose to put it in that location.
I was referring to the one that's behind the gas station.
That was also the choice made by the school. That was a school before as well. The Montessori Academy was there, and then they moved and built their new location. But now we have a bunch of schools in an area that really, where the road system wasn't designed to do it. And the law allows it. The city had no authority to stop it, and they're now there. So now what we have to do is we've got to deal with that reality. And in order to deal with that reality, part of the plan has to be to expand Pembroke Road to US 27 and finish it once and for all, and to take 208th. You're shaking your head. You don't think that's a good idea? No. I have to. Yeah, well, unfortunately, the traffic has followed you there. Yeah. And so now what we have to do is we have to contend with what has followed us there, because we can't undo what has been done. So every traffic engineer that we've looked at has said what you have to do is you have to complete Pembroke Road out to US 27, because Miramar is landlocked. So in order to get to US 27, Miramar has to come through Pembroke Pines. They have no other choice. So what we have to do is we've got to complete that road. That will take cars off of Pines Boulevard. We have to take 208th from Pines Boulevard south to Pembroke Road to give people yet another way to get to US 27. And that's only part of what we have to do. Another thing we need to do is try to convince parents to get more people on school buses, kids on school buses. See, because the most traffic inefficient way to get a kid to school is the most prevalent way that we get to kids' school now, which is, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
which is one by car. Okay? So if we can create a plan that gets more kids on school buses, we will be more successful. And this plan includes a busing program for young people to get more of them in school. So the more cars that we get off the road, the better it's going to be. Additionally, though, we also have new rules coming in about when school times begin. That is going to assist in traffic management, but it's not going to do the job completely. This issue of traffic in the western part of the city caused by these schools locating at these locations is a serious concern, and we're going to have to figure out projects to work our way out.
You never answered the question I asked, though. The original question I asked is, whose idea was it to open the school up?
The schools.
And have it come through a city park?
Right.
Versus having it opening up and coming off of Pines Boulevard and flowing out the traffic that it used to. So now it's impeded on us on leaving and getting to our jobs. Right. Because the parents don't care.
Right. Well,
so why didn't they open it off of Pines Boulevard was my question.
Why didn't they open it up on Pines Boulevard? Mike, do you want to address that? Is it because it's going to block Alhambra? Do you want to address that? And I thank you for the question. It's an important issue.
So good evening. My name is Mike Stam. I'm the Assistant City Manager in charge of Planning and Economic Development. We came into an agreement with the school to use the park to add stacking to get the cars off of Pines Boulevard and 196th. Okay, so...
It didn't work.
Well, it's not even fully implemented yet. It's not today. Yeah, well, okay, so let's do this, okay? And I'm going to be very blunt. The first 2 weeks of school, it is chaos for every single parent throughout the community. We know this happens. Chief, how much extra patrols do we have to do the first 2 weeks of school to get people used to new traffic patterns? So we open up a new traffic pattern, and right now, you've given us 1 day to implement a new program to try to implement a traffic pattern. So this new pattern will allow cars to double stack, not on the roadways, but inside the park during AM and PM peak. What happens at Franklin Academy is that we have to do increased enforcement to keep them from stacking on Pines Boulevard, which they can't legally do. So can put a block from allowing them to come further down the road, and then the city provide us with a secondary access of 296. So we're not blocked.
On 196.
So you're off of Old 196. Yes. Okay, so you're off of Old 196. So the intent that happens with this is that the cars can go all the way inside the soccer park so that they're going to be stacking there. I'm going to ask you that you give us more than a day and give the parents more than a day to try to accommodate this new traffic pattern. There's other things that happens with schools that many folks don't realize, is that we can't intermingle how the buses, because they also have busing, and the passenger traffic works. Now, these are mandates that the city has to take into account that come down from the state. So we have two different traffic patterns occurring there. The goal with this new traffic pattern was to get the parents off of Pines Boulevard and off of 196, where they were impeding the traffic, and get them into a place where they can stack safely so that they didn't block the overall traffic flow. Let's give it more than a night and a day as the parents learn this new traffic pattern. It usually takes, honestly, 2 weeks for people to understand how to utilize new traffic patterns. The good news is we're going to have a break next week. This week is going to be kind of like a soft rollout because we have a short week next week with Thanksgiving. Realistically, this will be fully implemented, and the parents will be 100% on board within the next 2 weeks.
And I thank you for the question.
And I'm Mike. I don't think we've met. I did go a few weeks. I should stand up. Sorry. A couple of months ago, I went, maybe your neighborhood, and I met with about 10 of your neighbors. And apparently, I WhatsApp with one of your neighbors, and he sends the messages. I did WhatsApp. I won't say his name, but with your neighbor today. And I did say, because her and I have been speaking along with the representative of Somerset about this issue. One of the challenges is you guys can't get in and out with ease. So that gentleman back there, our police chief, has spoken to me, texted with me about the issue, because I think before this even opened, you were having folks going into your neighborhoods and blocking your driveways. So he sent his officers to start ticketing or giving, well, they didn't ticket at first. They gave them warnings. Chief, this is why I'm talking to you. And this is why her and I text, because there are folks that are just trying to get in and out, and some parents are oh, there you are. Well, I messaged with him. They are coming into their neighborhoods. They're disrupting the neighborhoods. So you're absolutely right. That's why we speak to one another often to try to get them out of there. I know it's frustrating. I will say, just to repeat what Mike's saying, give it more than a day. So can you or Mike answer that?
Well, the reality is there's not room for two accesses there. There's one access in Old 196 that's a shared access. And believe you me, for the last 4 years, we've received complaints from your neighborhood about them blocking 196 and not allowing you out the other way. So the goal, again, was to not only try to make people that live in your area happy, the people that live in Estancia, the people that live in Alhambra, the people that live in Chapel Trail. So again, as the mayor mentioned, we can't stop schools from coming. The state allows them to come. They have to prove they can open, they can operate, and that's where we go. So we try to accommodate through busing programs, through volunteer programs through them.
Buses won't even come down my street. I've tried to hire private buses. Now my kids are older.
Right.
So they're driving, but I couldn't even get a bus to come in.
Yeah, that's true, and that's
We're not going through that.
that's true, and that's part of the problem. And this is an issue that has to be studied very, very carefully in order to provide not just you, but throughout the area with the relief. We are on message that there is a serious traffic issue out there.
What's the occupancy of that school by any chance?
They have a cap of 1,000 students, but
Yeah.
it's important for everybody to note, west of 178th, if you can picture that street, 178th. West of 178th out to US 27, we have 12,000 kids attending schools in our community, okay? Of those schools, 5 are charters, okay? So, but that provides a challenge that the city now has to overcome, hence why we have some of the projects that we have put in this program.
But the issues the issue that you brought up is a valid issue. It's a serious issue,
And it's dangerous.
and we're going to deal with it. Other questions? Yes, sir. And I thank you for that. Just there's a switch right there. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
I like the project you have here. My question is, with all this type of money that we have to spend in the city of Pembroke Pines, what about our property taxes? Would our property taxes go up?
Well, we're going to have to sit down and we're going to have to figure it out. The preliminary numbers that we have from the finance director suggest that no one's going to go broke over it. However, there will have to be some additional dollars that come in. Now, what you all have to understand is we just entered a new budget year. And the budget that we adopted together just a couple of months ago, the fiscal year started October 1st, provided a tax cut to the city. It's not the biggest tax cut in the world, but it's not an increase. And it follows a 10-year pattern in Pembroke Pines of either keeping the tax rate the same or lowering it. We will continue with our conservative financial practices here, and we will seek to mitigate it as much as we can. But at the end of the day, these types of projects, road projects, parks projects, they have to be purchased, and that money is not in the budget. So people are going to have to take a look at this, and they're going to have to decide whether this is the kind of thing that they want, whether they want to ascribe the seriousness to that list that we did or not. I'm not here to sell you on this. There will be people who vote yes, we want this because I'm sick and tired of the traffic. And there are going to be some people who say, I don't want it. And what the residents say is what we as a city commission will adopt. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm here to present what the plan is, and you all, together, as a family here in Pembroke Pines, we will decide which direction that we're going to go.
Well,
But it's not going to be for free.
no, I know, but maybe we can create things that could bring revenue to the city,
Like what?
like place people could rent to do events.
We do that.
Yeah, but more places, because the Dodge Center here is very expensive.
Yes?
So this way, it don't allow too many people to come in to do shows here because of the overhead expense of this place.
So we rent the parks. Can we rent some of the new community facilities? I think we could. Would that have a revenue impact? I think it would. Would it be a significant revenue impact? I don't think so, but we could definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, well,
Can you write that down?
yeah, every little
Let's
bit
take a look at
helps.
what the other rental opportunity. We're happy to look at that.
Yeah, every little bit helps because
Absolutely.
we are so comfortable with the property tax being where it's at right now.
Right.
And once you increase that, the insurance and everything just goes sky high. It's not just the property tax.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I have to tell you, from my perspective, you elected a mayor who doesn't like to talk about problems. He likes to solve them. That's just the way I am. I don't like to sit on a problem very long. I don't like to bellyache about stuff. I like to fix it. We're presenting you with a strategic plan that fixes these issues. And it's up to you. And I will respect whatever it is the community decides as to whether or not we live with the problems or we solve them. And that will be a decision that's made in the community. But you make a very, very good point, and I thank you for it.
Thank you very much for
Yes, sir.
taking
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. Lady in the back has a question. We good, Sam?
Good evening.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. What's the time frame to complete the plans? 10 years, 15, 20?
So in 2005, thank you for that question. So in 2005, we had a bond issue for $100 million, which passed. I think it was implemented well inside of 8 years, Ms. Dodge. All of the projects that were there, and we listed all of the projects and told everyone what the projects were, and they were completed within 8 years. The ones that, but there's a sequence to how plans like this are done. So for example, let's say we have to lay down some new drainage pipe. Well, that goes in first before you do the roads, right? Because, I mean, you don't want to do the roads and then you have to put in sewer lines. So there's a sequence to how that goes. We're thinking that the road projects will probably be first because that makes the most sense. So the traffic relief will probably happen first, and then the other projects would, in some logical manner, be sequenced in after that. I don't know if that helps to answer your question, but the goal is to get the goal would be to get the projects done very quickly. There's no need for a tremendous amount of delay, nor is there a need to borrow money that we wouldn't immediately need. So that's why traditionally the way these things are done is you borrow as you need it. You don't, borrow the whole amount and then leave it sitting in a bank account.
Exactly.
No. You borrow as you need it so that you can limit the amount of excess cash that you're holding on to that you wouldn't need because the project isn't sequenced for it. So typically what happens is, and this is how it happened in 2005, and I want you to know that by and large, the same team is here that managed that budget. And every single one of those projects came in on time or below budget, and every single one of them were exactly the projects that you all approved of in the first place. We didn't add anything to it that was untoward in any way. There wasn't an inch of scandal or anything like that. Every single dollar was accounted for. And it was really handled in a very, very professional manner. And as a result of that, you all will remember years ago, you remember when Flamingo and Pines was considered the most dangerous intersection in America? You remember all that nonsense?
Yes.
That went away very fast. We added turn lanes, we did things that the state wouldn't do, and almost immediately you saw the relief on Pines Boulevard. This is something that communities do that plan, that are forward communities, plan for their ongoing success. It's just something that it's part of what you do when you have a city that's continuously moving forward. And those cities that we visit that are sort of disappointing are the cities that don't make those investments. And so the problems fester, and they get worse, and they get worse and worse. And then before you know it, you change the character of the community. The community no longer feels like the place that you were in. We don't want that in Pembroke Pines. And that's why we're paying attention to what the issues are that you've told us you want to take care of, because we love the city as much as you do, and we want to see it continue to thrive. So I thank you for the question.
Okay, last question is
Yes, ma'am.
about the police building. Are we going to, is the whole cost to purchase the land and build
No,
on
we
it?
own the land.
Okay, are we going to have a substation in the east and the west and the central, or is it just going to be one new facility?
We've not discussed substations, but I think that's a conversation that we should have, and I thank you for bringing that forward. And Chief and City Manager, I would encourage you to have the conversation about substations. I don't know exactly whether that's something that you'll need to have. There is something along the lines of a substation out west on 184th that's tucked behind where police can go. I don't know. I think for a while they were using the Pines, the old Pembroke Pines Center, as a substation. But that's a conversation that we'll have, and I'm thankful to you for asking that question. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. When you were, I know that understanding budgets and everything is something that's very important, and we completely understand that. But when it comes to your Parks and Rec, we have a rec program with a facility that is basically crumbling around us.
Which one is that?
West Pines, Pasadena Park.
Yes.
So our park is basically crumbling around us.
Right.
So if we have to wait for the roads and the drainage and all of that, so is there something where you're going to meet with the parks individually to find out which park is in need more than others? Because there's parks out west that are brand new, and then parks like ours that need a lot of help.
Yeah, Christina, how would you envision a rollout of the parks component relative to the question that she asked, which makes sense?
Right, so when you go to the website and you look at the full project list, you will see that there are lots of recreation projects. One of them is a project for full renovation at Pasadena. To answer your question on how we would, what comes first? The same contractor that does the road is not the contractor that would renovate a park, so we can do them at the same time. I would evaluate all of the parks and determine the need that would come first. And there are a lot of parks in the east that have greater need, and Pasadena is one of them. There's a few in the west too. But we would evaluate that, and we would look at exactly which one needs to come first. And then, of course, that project has to come before the commission, and they would have the final decision on how
I have to tell you that from my perspective, if we haven't had this conversation, but from my perspective, I would seek to do the parks that are in the greatest need first. That would be my natural inclination. But we're gonna listen to staff for what their guidance is and how to proceed. But it's a fair question.
Now, we did notice that you put on the list of the things that Pasadena needs. And some of the things on there are definitely needed, but some of the things can be kind of like worked out a little bit. Are you going to be meeting with the park officials to see, like, what do you suggest would be the most important, as opposed to something that really we wouldn't need or wouldn't want, something along those lines?
So absolutely, the whole point of this meeting today and all of these meetings we're having is to hear your feedback. So go on the website and look at the plan. It's detailed. It'll tell you. And if you can't find it, you email me, and I will point it out to you exactly what the plans are, and we can talk about it.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
We don't just want you to like what's done at Pasadena Park. We want you to be proud of it. So you will be involved in those discussions, and I thank you for that input. Yes, Commissioner.
if you would like to go, that's loud. If you'd like to go onto there or share it with those park officials, I'm sure Christina will be able to either reach out to them, or if you are already in contact with them, or any of the other parents that might not have been able to make it because they're at those parks right now, please make sure that you share that, because that's the feedback that we need. And I don't know if Christina had already mentioned it, but there is an email as well. If you'd like to go a little bit further into detail, that paper does have, I think it's blueprint@ppines.com.
Bingo.
Anything a little bit more extensive, the Google form might not be the best format for you. So if you would like anybody as well, go into depth into that, or feel free to obviously call some of the commissioners, or specifically for you if your concerns are about the parks, to call Christina, as she mentioned.
Thank you. Next question. Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Hi.
I've been a Pines resident for 30 years. My background's in irrigation, horticulture for the last 40. I work for a municipality right now in the sewer department, and I looked over the plan, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. Very concise. The golf course, though, concerns me a little bit. I play there. I love that course. It's beautiful, but we just renovated that in 2007, correct?
Yeah.
And we put $7 million into that.
Right,
And
15
now we're
years
looking
ago.
into putting in another 10.
Well, the 10, let me explain to you the 10. So part of it is netting for Park Place. You know, the problem in golf is not enough shoulder turn.
Yeah, I know.
So
And a bad
when you
slice.
get one of these and it hits somebody in the forehead, that's a problem.
Right.
And so they have asked us for some netting, and that's part of it. The bathrooms there.
No, right.
Okay. Do I need to go any further?
No.
You've been
that's
there.
fine.
Okay. So there, the furniture there has to be replaced. The outdoor patio, people are looking for a better eatery for the golfers that doesn't interfere with the wedding that's going on next door. There are things that we need to do there. Additionally, the place doesn't drain. So there's a lot of mud on the ball even when it's dry out. They need to soak it up. The grass is actually very, very good. We're not going to rip everything up, but there are some areas that can be wasted and used with coquina, which will drain better, having less mud. There are areas under trees that could really be coquina better than the grass that won't grow there because of the needle pines and everything else. So when you add that all up, now, there's an additional thing. I mean, because the golf course is our largest park. Just because there's a price tag there, like we put in $120 million for the police station. We don't know that it's going to cost $120 million. We're going to work like hell to get it for less. We're not going to build the cheap building. So when we put $10 million, that's a planning number. We're not going to borrow any more than we need to have. So that's just part of what that is. So I don't want you to,
No,
you know,
that's fine.
that's a planning number.
I understand all that,
Yeah.
the drainage and everything. That makes sense. I have a few more because I read the
Yes, sir.
the whole strategic plan.
I'm glad you came prepared. That's what I was hopeful for.
It's awesome. The public safety, you know, with the police station, that's understandable. You just know, like I've been here 30 years and you see how it's grown. You know, are we looking at redoing any of the fire stations too? Because you drive around, you see those, they look a little old and.
Chief, are we redoing fire stations? But you have that money. You have that money through the budget process. So we don't have to borrow it.
Okay, so that's not, okay, I understand that. And then workforce development, are we looking to go back to full-time city employees, or are we still looking to be contracted out?
So if we go, in the areas that we've contracted out, and this is a complicated issue to have.
I understand.
Okay? But in the areas that we could go to all city employees and double your taxes. We could do it tomorrow. The reason the city of Pembroke Pines contracts out in certain delegable jobs is because it saves the taxpayers money. And saving taxpayer money is number 2 on the list. And so that's the reason we do it. That's the reason any city does it. we could easily go back to all city employees, but you would have to pay for it. And when you confront people about that, that's when they start thinking twice about it. So I'm always open for in fact, you should not, this isn't about me, but I brought this rule to the city commission that every time we contract something out, there should be an analysis. How much would it be if we did it ourselves versus how much should it be if we give it to the private sector? And if the savings in the private sector is significant, and if the finding that staff make it is that they can do it as well or better than we could ourselves, then you should contract out. But if it costs more to go to the private sector, we should do it ourselves. What would the point be?
Right.
So right now, in some of the services that we provide, we contract out. And many of the services that we provide, we actually pay more because we can't contract out. We're never going to contract out fire or police or the budget office, the people that pay the bills, the people that do the contracts. Those are things that are inherent in government and non-delegable.
Right.
But in some of these areas, like who mows the lawn and who does this and who does that, it sort of falls into a gray area. And so that's been the position of the city pretty much since we started doing it just before the recession.
Okay, and on public infrastructure?
Yes.
See, about the drinking water, that's understandable because I've been to past commission meetings where that was an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know, you guys could have done it under another budget. Is there anything for the water treatment plant and the sewer lines?
The water treatment plant is
For the sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though that's part of the strategic plan, I don't know that we actually put water and sewer in there. They have their own budget.
That's right.
So
Okay.
they're
Okay,
going to have to go on their own budget. And some of the work that they have to do, for example, with PFAS and that kind of thing, there are lawsuits and other funds that we're looking to attach in order to fix that problem. But they have their own fund, and that's not really under it's under
Okay.
the strategic plan.
That was just a question. 'Cause
But
I
it's
didn't
not
see
part
it
of the
in
funding
right.
plan.
Okay.
Right.
And then the last would be with the public spaces, all that's good. There's a few spots in the city where you go to pull out, like on Taft Street, there's like two where the hedges encroach a little too far.
Huh.
So when you pull up to the stop sign.
Which locations are those?
Northeast corner of 110th Avenue and Taft Street,
Okay.
and the southwest corner of 114th and Taft.
I thank you for that. That's you got those, Deborah? And what we will do is we will send folks out there. I don't know who owns those hedges.
Well,
If they're-
it looks like it's in the city, like the swale area.
If it's ours and there are our hedges and they're in the way of public safety, they should be trimmed. If there's someone else's, we'll ask them to trim
Well,
them.
it's not so much a trim issue, it's how far out it's really nice, scrolly,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
planted.
Yeah.
So maybe if they took a plant or two back, you'd almost have to sit at the stop sign and look.
Yes, sir. We will go out there and we will survey that. And I'm
Okay.
very thankful for all those comments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. George, you had something? I'll get to you. Oh, yes.
Here you go, George.
As I went through the plan, I was very pleased. But I'm going to ask, I think there might be room for what I would call a community-specific problem column. Because I'm from the East. A lot of people here from the West. We have some 50-year-old problems. Out there, you have 20 and 30-year-old problems. And the people overseeing some of these things and putting them together don't really know some of the little idiosyncrasies or problems that have been around for a while. Just maybe put this in somewhere as a footnote, and I can give you a couple big ones pertinent to my area. I lived near North Perry Airport, and it was a sleepy little airport 50 years ago when I moved in. And because of noise and pollution and the growth at the airport, it's become a problem. Now, I realize that there's not a whole lot the city can do. It's controlled by the county. But this is an area that, you know, if someone from up above doesn't really know about it, and it's out there and documented in a record, then they could possibly find ways within one of these plans to apply maybe a little pressure or influence things for the benefit of the residents. And the big thing is to get these things documented and into the record so that people know that they're out there and they exist. And one more for us is 72nd Avenue, Southwest 72nd Avenue. It's always been a cut through between Miramar and Pines, and the city has worked diligently on it to try and get some of the trucks off of it, and that's going quite slow, I would say, but they're working on it. But there again, that in the traffic planning and everything, to make sure that everybody is aware of that as they go forward. And I think that's really about it.
So I would say, George, first of all, thank you. There's a section in the strategic plan for advocacy. Did you guys see that? There was an advocacy section. And certainly defending the interests of local residents with respect to any matter, whether it's the airport or a school or anything along those lines that others control, should be in that plan. You should know that the City Commission authorized the manager to begin looking at the airport and some of the concerns stemming from when the county promised to do an air quality study there and then changed their mind and didn't do it. And that has triggered a significant amount of interest on the Pembroke Pines City Commission to deal with a series of issues with the airport. So that's going to be in there. And your comment about 72nd Avenue is a very important one. We, years ago, I think it was Vice Mayor Good who brought the motion to limit it to no trucks, no through trucks. Where's Tom? You did, right? Yeah, and that simply has to be enforced. And it's hard because the police department can't be everywhere, but the police chief is here, and I've already seen him take note of that as you were speaking. So I want to thank you for both of those comments. Very, very important. Yes, ma'am.
When is the final strategic plan? That's going to be in March that we're going to vote on? For the final, how long does it take to put the final together?
So the final would have to be put together before March.
Okay.
So we're in something of a window now of collecting information from you on how to finalize this, how to make it better, the last sort of touches on it. Once the commission makes it final, then it has to make a decision about how we would proceed with it. And those decisions have not yet been made by the Pembroke Pines City Commission. That's a discussion that we would have with them. We've been encouraged by the reaction that we've had with residents. They are very eager. The people that I talk to are very eager to prosecute those 10 issues to completion. But not everyone is going to feel that way. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that whatever product we put forward captures as much of what you guys want to see as possible.
So then in the vote in March, if it fails,
yeah,
is it everything on that list fails, or is it just the roadway that fails?
Well, I'm neither going to talk about failures or successes today. I'm going to talk about the plan, and then what we do is we have the plan will take its road, and we will go from there. But I appreciate that you want to ask the question, but I'm not in a position to answer what then. Those are hypotheticals that are a little bit above my pay grade. I work for a city commission, And that would be a question for them, and we would have to deal with that. But right now, I'm focused on success, and that's just what I'm focused on. I'm focused on making sure, and the way I define success is you all are satisfied that we are moving in the right direction. And that's what Pembroke Pines needs to do all the time, is to continue moving in the right direction to make sure that we protect the interests of the city. So that's where I'm focused right now. Other comments? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Angela. I have a question in regards to the public safety.
Yes.
The details of what is going to entail everything that's needed in public safety, is it included in this plan?
Yes, it is. But Chief, or Mr. Dodge, do you want to talk a little bit about the project and what's involved with the
what additional information or what additional
police station?
Things are going to add to our police station?
Let's give Mr. Dodge the mic, and he'll.
Provide additional space for, we've increased our public safety, our police department probably by 2/3 since the time that building was built. And it will also provide the latest technology that's necessary for them to do the work.
Does that also include body worn?
I'm sorry?
Does it also include body worn cameras?
Oh, yes.
Well, the cameras are operational, and on an annual basis, the chief recommends.
She's asking you about body-worn cameras.
That's all operational. All of these funds are capital dollars. They're for bricks and mortar. Those type of things are all in our operational budget.
Body-worn cameras are currently in use.
Okay. I also have another question in regards to, because I've noticed this happening more often than not, and I hear it in the evenings. There's a lot of racing going on.
Racing.
Yep. I live off of Taft and Palm.
Yep.
And I hear it at night.
Yep.
Where they're racing vehicles and whatnot. My specific concern is Northwest 99th Avenue, which is a street right behind that shopping center in the corner of
Well,
Taft.
one of the things, when you take a look at the traffic improvements, is that I think on Taft and also on Johnson, there are roundabouts that are planned, which will slow down traffic while not changing the character of that community. And so we think that by the installation of roundabouts, we will gain the traffic controls that are needed in those areas. They're not right for every part of the community. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a great example. This came up at one of the meetings this morning about the roundabouts. So if you go to Western Pembroke Pines and you talk about roundabouts, they look at you like you've got 8 heads, because they don't need roundabouts. They need wider roads. In your area, roundabouts make sense. They would not only preserve the character, they would enhance the character of your community. Because with roundabouts, you can do things with brick and, some of the nicer things that we've seen in the eastern part of Pembroke Pines. It tends to make for a quainter community, but it also serves a purpose, which is to slow people down, because you can't speed through a roundabout. So those are important additions, and those are things that have been thought through by the traffic engineers, and it's going to be a big improvement in the eastern part of the city. So I'm glad you raised that question. Other suggestions, comments? All of this is, I cannot thank you enough. All of this is so very hopeful.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. My name is Angelina, and I have something that could potentially be added for the recreation parks. There's a shed on Fletcher Park on Johnson Street. It's currently being used for storage. It's a big building, and it could possibly become an indoor facility at the park, like a training facility for a gym. It would bring in a lot more kids to the park, and that would attract revenue for the city.
I'm glad that you mentioned it. We're going to write that down. However, we're also thinking about converting the Pines Rec Center over there to a Boys and Girls Club that would allow a much greater amenity for young people. But I like the idea of rethinking Fletcher Park.
Yeah,
I think that,
and something like this, it could be year-round for the kids.
yeah, I remember when that was a community center. They had PAL in there, and they had, before you, they had all kinds of activities there, and now it's, I think, housing staff or I don't know what. But I've always sort of missed the. There should be more community centers in the eastern part of the city. Absolutely. And I'm thankful that you brought that up. It's being written down, and we'll see if we can't work that into the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great idea. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Talking about that, it's funny because her name is like my daughter, Angelina. And I was going to bring something like that, and she talked about that. So I was having also an idea for recreational for our teenagers, because I has been living here in Pembroke Pines for 12 years and has seen the growth of so many kids now, young generation coming, and it's no more, it's more young generation coming, and they will love to have a place to get together and for example the Pines Ice Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's a wonderful place for them to be together
It's
and
safe.
have fun. Yeah, and it's safe, and my kid has been there and they love it. But we say something like that you don't have to.
And it's cool.
Huh?
And it's cool.
And it's well, we love cool. Some people don't like cool, but I was thinking too, like a skating place, outdoor skating place, right? Like a big opening. A skating place, and you can put some shades on the top where the kids can be together, safe, nice, free, because, free, does depend on that. But, a nice outdoor.
Free is our favorite word.
A nice outdoor place for kids to skate. And with, things like that for the kids can hang out in a safe environment.
Those are the kinds of thoughts that can be built into the design of the recreation and the parks areas, and that's been written down. And I thank you for the comment. We will study that and figure out how it can be incorporated.
Yeah, thank you.
And I thank you for that comment. Other suggestions?
Yeah.
Yes,
Hi.
ma'am.
Hi, good evening. First, I just wanted to give kudos to this young lady and her parents for having her become involved. Younger folks coming in is a great thing. I want to commend also the city for the events that you have for young families, for everyone really, that you have here at the city center. They're wonderful. I bring my kids to them all the time. One thing that I do want our community to be mindful about is when budgeting for, I see here the new community facilities, and a big chunk of that is in revamping right out here, this area, so that it's not so much concrete. But this is a relatively new area, and I'd be hopeful that in moving forward, we plan a little better so that we are not basically tearing up what we have here that is relatively new to make way for something that is better now as we're planning.
Yeah, we're not going to tear it up. We're going to add it and expand it. So the plans that I've seen are to make it larger and to make the wall on the west side a little taller to block that western sun, because when you have an afternoon event in the plaza, it's really pretty uncomfortable because of the sun. And so we're trying to figure out a way to have larger events there that are more comfortable for people.
And
so we're not going to tear it down. We're going to improve it.
Well, I'd be hopeful that there's more greenery out there, because it just feels very, gray.
Okay.
And also, I know we touched on the public safety facility. It is a third of this proposed total value of the project list.
Yeah.
I know it's a capital project, and I do know that there was mention of technological advances. If we could have just a little bit more detail about what the police department cannot do now or has challenges doing now that a facility with these type of advances would provide them with.
We can provide that additional information, and we're happy to do that. Chief, if you can have somebody just write up what the new police department will do to the extent that you can. You know, when you ask, police are used to asking the questions, not answering them, but I say that in jest. But if you can provide some additional sort of scope-related, task-related, capacity-related answers to what the new facility would allow you to do, that I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Who's next? Yes, sir. Hold on for the mic, please.
I don't have the mic.
Yeah, it's being recorded, so. Yes, sir.
On Pines Boulevard between 196th and 186th Avenue,
Yes.
those lights haven't worked in over a year.
Which lights?
The big street lights. The big street lights
On the north side of the street?
Yeah. They haven't worked in over 2 years.
So this was a major problem with FP&L.
Uh-huh.
There was a short there, and then they found the short, and then the eagles started to nest. And when the eagles start to nest, all work on poles stop. And then the eagles nested, and they had 2 birds there, which is good news. And then they fixed the short, and then the next week it shorted again in a different location that was hard to find. And then it got fixed, and now I hear that those lights are now working. I'm told that they're working. Okay. Mr. Buckland? If we can get that checked out, because the word that I got from FP&L was that power was restored. So are we now waiting for the truck to come in and turn it on or change the bulb, or what the heck is it now? We don't know? Because I'm told that they were, you saw the same email I saw that said it's powered up. We're on it. We're on it. Thank you. And so if we can get to FP&L on that. And I thank you for that. Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening. First of all, thank you so much for the wonderful work you're doing. Big change from the past. I've noticed a lot of homeless around my house lately.
Yeah.
Like a lot. People with shopping carts. And
yeah.
There's a lot that I guess should have been a parking lot.
Yeah.
And there's the gym, the Planet Fitness.
Right.
Is the city doing anything with that, or?
This is a very complicated issue because, Pembroke Pines is starting to see more homeless people. Some of them are from our community who have mental illness issues. Some of them are people who have gravitated west because they feel safer in our community than in some other communities. The police department has specially trained people that engage with them and offer them options. Sometimes they want to accept the options and sometimes they don't. Their ability to confront them is further complicated by whether they are on private property or not. Even though people are generally invited to go into a shopping center, that is private property. And so trespass laws don't really capture them because folks are invited to come in. It's a very, very, very difficult issue. And our police department is proceeding with a great deal of care and compassion in the way that you would want them to proceed. I'm very proud of them for what they're doing. But there's no question that we're seeing more and more evidence of homeless people in Pembroke Pines. It's not something to be afraid of, but it is a concern that we have that we want to help them. But the help that they need is nowhere near us. The help that they need is all the way out east. And so we have to work with them, and we have to work with the homeless providers in order to give them the support that they need. I have seen families in some of the shopping centers, women primarily with their children, sleeping in vans, sleeping in cars, because they've been evicted and they can't afford to pay the rents. The chief was telling me of a case the other day of a lady who is sleeping in a van because she wants her kids to continue going to the schools that she's from, but she can't find a place to live in, even though she's from this community. We have to do better in taking care of our own people. This is a Pembroke Pines family that fell on hard times. This is a city that should have enough love for ourselves and our own that we can take care of them. And part of this plan, and you've told me this community has told us this. And part of what we're looking to do is to generate the ability to do a better job at that. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yes, we're seeing more and more of it. And that's likely going to continue.
Is there going to be a homeless shelter out west?
No, that's not going to happen. And the reason it's not, the minute I saw that article in the Sun Sentinel, I called the mayor in Broward County and I said, "What are your plans?" And it was as simple as this. They were talking about the homeless, and they asked the county administrator to bring forward a full list of all of the vacant properties that the county owns within the county, and that property is on the list. But she told me that's not what we're looking at. It would make no sense because none of the services that they need are within 12 miles of that location. So any suggestion that's happening is just not. It's not reality.
Okay. Inside gated communities, police can't enforce traffic in there, no?
If they have a traffic enforcement and trespass agreement, we do.
And what would be the reason why an HOA wouldn't sign that agreement?
You'd have to ask them. Doesn't make any sense to me. Only makes them safer. But there are some.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to list them.
And my third issue, I talked to the commissioner for District 4.
Yes.
And he's already sending an inspector to. There's a hedge in my community that's.
He's a pretty bright guy.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Aaron Lee here. Now that we're on the topic, I was wondering, like, what is the city doing to combat this problem when it comes to affordable housing for people who have lived here their lives and they're trying to figure out, what makes sense as far as living in this community?
It needs to be built. It needs to be affordable. It needs to fall within about a third of the median income that people are being paid. And the only way to do it is for government to stop talking about it and start building it. But it costs money. It is best done on city-owned property. It's not only exclusively government-owned property, I should say, because that reduces the cost. It has to pencil out. There are some grants that are available to take the edge off of it. There are supports that can come from the state, some that can come from the federal government. But ultimately, it's a question of figuring out a way to do it. Pembroke Pines has owned and operated, 800 units? 800 units of affordable housing for years. Most of it goes to seniors, but some of it goes to young people. If we had double that tomorrow, it wouldn't be enough. We need, it's a hole in our continuum. A city that's sustainable is a city in which you can live from birth to death at every stage in your life sustainably. Okay? And in Pembroke Pines, there's a gap just around in your 20s, and then there's another one in your 70s that has to be filled. There are people that start running into trouble. Just today, there was a wonderful article that I recommend in the Sun Sentinel about a growing crisis with seniors. And it's easy to understand in this way. And I want to answer the question about young people. So when they created Social Security, it was a pyramid. Are you aware of that? It was a pyramid like this. And the people on the bottom were the workers. And the people on the top were collecting Social Security. Now the pyramid for Social Security looks like this. The people on the top are collecting, and there aren't enough workers on the bottom. This is a crisis. And we're going to see more and more seniors, because of medical science, God bless them, they're keeping us alive longer and longer and longer. Just the other day, I handed out a proclamation to a lady in Century Village who was 100 years old. Guess what? There are lots of 100-year-old people in Century Village. She's still driving. She could probably outrun me. And, you know, they're in great shape. Well, I think I could still outrun her. But the point is, she's in great shape, and she's sharp as a tack. People are living much, much longer than ever before. But her Social Security check was based on what she earned in 1955, 1965, 1975, when she was still working. And it's not enough now. I met a guy the other day who was telling me he was 97. I said, wow, 97, what do you think? He says, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. I'd have saved more money. I went through all of my money, all the savings, that entire nest egg that I had for my old age. It's gone. I just live on Social Security now, and I can't make ends meet. Breaks my heart. So we have to find ways to deal with that. But then you also have young people. If you go into my community where I live out west, every fifth house has a 30-year-old living in it, 20-something, 30-year-old living in it. And it's not because they're shiftless. They're working. It's because they can't afford to move out. No wonder the schools are talking about closing campuses. We're not producing as many kids. That's hard to do from Dad's house. So you got to figure. It's changing the whole character of our community. Housing is so very important. When I'm an immigrant to the United States, I was able to live in New York City. Thankfully, we had a rent-controlled apartment. I'll explain to you what that means. Basically, it was an affordable unit. It was very decent. It was in a great neighborhood. It framed my life that my parents had an affordable place, a decent and affordable place to live, that they could bring up 2 kids. Because they didn't make a lot of money. We was poor. But we got through it because they didn't have to pay a lot of money in rent. That family would have fallen apart had they had to pay. What's a one-bedroom here in Pembroke Pines? $2,500, $2,600, $2,700?
$22,000.
How much?
$2,200.
$2,200?
Bell Apartments.
Who's
from
talking?
Personal experience.
Raise your hand.
Sorry, it was me.
20 what?
22.
I never paid a mortgage that was $2,200. That's the truth. Okay, so how do you make ends meet when you pay mortgages like that? We need more affordability for people so that they can stay in our community, so that they can begin families, so that they can be. What's the point of raising kids in a community? You give them the best schools, the best parks, the best this, the best that, and when they get into 20s, they have to say, see ya, I can't be here for a while. Maybe I'll come back one year. It's not tenable. It's not workable. Only government can deal with that issue. And that's part of what this plan does, is keep the family of Pembroke Pines together. So it's up to you all in terms of where we go. But none of these problems are easy to solve. And I have to tell you, from my experience, money isn't everything. But it's everything else. Yes?
Sorry, just to expand a little bit more on that, because I know we have a lot of questions on basically how do we make it affordable. I think just to expand a little bit more on what the mayor said, if you look at the implementation plan online, that link will send you to, it has the draft, the plan, and then the specific projects. One of the plans on page 2 and page 3 of that within the economic development is the expanding inventory of affordable housing units. That's kind of what he was talking about. But in order for us to do that, it has to be purchased, the land has to be purchased by the city. So that is a prong of it. The other part is promoting redevelopment of vacant and underutilized properties. So a lot of these larger plazas, things like that are going a little, they're a little older, a little more dilapidated. Our goal is to make sure that once those come onto the market or someone decides to change that up, that we are able to kind of bid on that and see that, make sure that we're redeveloping those areas into what is called mixed use. So that's mixing a little bit of homes and mixing in a little bit of commercial space. So those are the kinds of projects that we're looking to develop, and that will, bringing in the commercial space makes it so that where it can offset the cost, because those are the people who pay our taxes as well. You guys also pay, but if you own a business or if you have a commercial space, they also pay. So mixing those two together allows us to really move forward on building more, and for the cost to the builder to be a little bit less. And overall, we can do so much, but if we're not building and we're not zoning areas for the more housing to be built, we're never really gonna get there. So that's just a little bit more detailed, and the plan does go through exactly how those things will, be done. But one of the caveats for that is we don't know when these pieces of land will go on sale. So what we're asking for is kind of like a credit line. In the case that those do come on sale and we're able to purchase some kind of land for the city and then sell it to developers to make affordable housing, then that's the kind of things that we're looking to do, because that for them is the easiest way for them to reduce the cost, is if we own the land and we sell it to them to increase however many units they have planned on there.
Absolutely accurate. I have time for one more comment, because then we have an exercise to do before we leave. Yes, sir.
Thank you. And it actually kind of stays on the same thing we were just talking about. So one of the things that struck me when I was looking at the allocation of funds is, if we're talking about increasing affordable housing for the community, increasing the number of units, that that $32.5 million number, it looks small, looks low to me.
Yeah.
And I understand you said maybe it's more of the concept of it's more of like a credit line where, as improvements happen, some of the funds free up to use for other projects. But 32.5 doesn't seem like it's going to.
Yeah,
go
let me
very
explain.
far.
We have one of our buildings right now. We're trying to flip it for about $90 million to an affordable housing group that's going to continue to run it as affordable housing. And that $90 million would be added to this group, but that's money that's already spoken for. So this is really like the balance of what we need. But your observation is 100% on the money. Who's got the mic that I can borrow? Okay. So, all that said, and I want to thank you for all your comments. Are we basically in the ballpark of what you were hopeful to see based on the top 10? Are we basically in the right place, or did we miss the boat completely? We're there? We're there, George? We're in the ballpark? We're there? You want to see some more once we finalize this? You want to see some more? Okay, all right. That's helpful. The City Commission is going to want to make sure that you all are pretty much there with us before we take any next steps, and that's what the purpose of this meeting was. The name of the plan is We Love Pembroke Pines, a blueprint to the future. So we're going to end this with an exercise. It's my favorite exercise. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's home, the people, the community.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It feels safe, and I feel like I'm on vacation every day.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's one of the greatest cities in Florida. I spent almost 30-something years there. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Dennis, why do you like Pembroke Pines?
I love Pembroke Pines because Angela's our mayor.
Listen to him on WIOD. He's on every Friday night. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I travel for work all the way to Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and I wouldn't change Pembroke Pines for anywhere.
Isn't that great? Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Well, I could see in this plan security and thinking about our generation. So my heart's in this. It's beautiful.
You know, he was talking about generations. I ran into a Greek saying that goes all the way back to like Plato's time. You want to hear it? Communities become great when old men. Let me try it again. Communities become great when old men plant trees under the shade of which they know they will never sit. Is that amazing? Is that amazing? Think about that. You go to all these different communities all over the world and you see these beautiful things that were done so many years ago and they are still a gift to you now. Every community has, in my opinion, every community has that responsibility, not just to live for themselves, but to hand something down. It's very, very interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I love it for its diversity. Basically, I feel safe here. I'm very appreciative to our law enforcement.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
The most beautiful city in the world.
I live here most of my life. I feel safe and I enjoy.
So when do you start Harvard University? As soon as you can. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Born and raised here.
She's special. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Because we run the best softball park in the city.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's clean, I feel safe, and I see it's always improving.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I came from Kendall, so
This is heaven, right? He came from Kendall, so this is heaven. How about you? Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's a beautiful place to live. When taken as a whole, it's a beautiful place to live.
I love Pembroke Pines because I get to share it all with you. What I love about the people in Pembroke Pines is we're not afraid to speak up. But beyond that, we're not bellyachers. We solve problems in the city. And we can come together like a family like nobody else. And we also understand, however crazy it might be in this city or that city, at the federal government or at the state or whatever, here in this city, where we go to sleep, where we lay our heads down on our pillows, where we kiss our children and our grandchildren goodnight, things are going to make sense. And we come together here as our city like nobody else can. I've seen it time and time again when this city has been challenged, when we've been threatened. We come together and we stand up as a whole and we get things done. And that makes me very, very proud to be your neighbor and even prouder to be your mayor. Thank you very much and good evening.